All right, let's wrap it up. Hands up to clap, number 1. For the record, I did not mean to be showing out the answers, so hopefully you didn't see it. But if you did, we'll just clap along anyway. Okay, number 1, hands on the screen. We're going to clap together. Number 1, clap for A, B, C, D. The correct answer to what is temperature, the correct answer is C. Number 2, hands up, clap for A, B, C, D. The correct answer is D. For number 3, this is really good practice, reading the thermometer. I'll take one person to read out all 3 answers. Ms. Van Hoo, I don't see that Mr. Vasquez is on here. Do you see?
He was on there earlier.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Mr. Vasquez, I didn't see you. So, okay, yeah. So we're calling for one person to read the 3 thermometers.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I don't think I have the, okay, there we go. Edgar.
The numbers I put on the thermometers were, the first one 67 degrees, the second one 46 degrees, and the third one 28 degrees.
You're slightly high, just slightly higher than what it should be. So you want to make sure that on the first one you're counting by 2s. We should get something like 64 or 65. Okay, on the second one, again, 40, 42, 44. It's probably like 44 or 45 because it looks like it's just a little bit above the line. And for number 3, counting again by 2s, we should have around 26 or 27. It's just a little bit hard to see exactly where it stops, so there's a little flexibility there. Okay, so let's say that the review is out of 3 questions. Show me on your fingers how many you got correct. 3, 2, 1, show. Seeing a lot of 3s and some 2s. And I know some people had a quick question on 1. We're going to be talking a lot about temperature today. Hands down, eyes on the screen. So by the end of the lesson, you'll definitely know what's the definition of temperature and how it's impacted in objects. All right, flip your page. And we're actually going to go 2 pages. We're going to go to the page where it says thermal energy, and it has a line for a definition. Okay, so now I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint and share it with you so we can write down the definition together. Screen. Before we do that, actually, we can look at the science fact of the day. Okay, so science fact of the day. Hummingbirds are the only animals able to fly backwards. Cool. Thermal energy. Let's take a second to write down this definition. It's energy due to randomly moving particles that make up matter and can be felt as heat. Take about 20 seconds to jot that down. Thank you, Edgar, for starting right away. Jasleen, Imani, great job. Okay, take 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. See a lot of people still writing. Okay, wrap it up, wrap it up. Pencils down. Eyes on the screen. You should be tracking me. All right, so let's break this down just a little bit because I see some words in there that are confusing, but I also see some words we know. So when it says energy due to randomly moving particles that make up matter, well, what is matter? Who can tell us what matter is? You can raise your hand so Mr. Vasquez can see you. Or you might randomly get called on too. Mr. Vasquez, did you call on someone?
Yeah, I called on Jessica.
Oh, okay. Sometimes we can't hear you. So if you can say it, I don't know, maybe a little louder or say it 2 times if you don't hear anyone talking.
Yeah, I think my connection was.
I think he was also muted.
Matter is what takes up in a object.
Yep, pretty much. So it's any object. Give me some examples of matter.
Like a penny taking up space in a cup of water.
Excellent job. If I had a ticket, Jessica, I would give you one. A penny, water, a cup, your computer, your glasses, your pencil. Okay, so it's interesting because any of those objects have these particles in them that can be felt as heat. So when you think thermal, think of heat. Say, when you hear thermal, think of heat. Say it with me. When you think of thermal, think of heat. Damien, I didn't see your mouth move. Everyone's gonna say it. When you think of thermal, think of heat. All right. We're gonna give this a try with the reading. I can have some volunteer readers. While they're reading, you want to make sure you're tracking your page, and if you get called on to read, make sure you're reading really clearly so everyone can hear you. All right, Mr. Vasquez, who do you think we should give a chance to read?
Check.
Who?
Check.
All right, Shaq, go ahead.
Thermal energy is the total of all the kinetic and potential energy of the moving particles in an object. When any form of matter gets warmer, the kinetic energy of the particles that make up the matter increases.
Popcorn, that means I'm going to call on someone else now. Thank you.
Jasmine. M.
When any form of matter gets warmer, the kinetic energy of the particles that make up that matter increases.
Jasmine, we already read that sentence, so make sure that you're following along. Read the next one too.
I don't see another line on my paper.
Oh, the slide.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay, here's the next slide. Go ahead.
When you take a baked potato from an oven, the potato has kinetic energy while it is being moved.
After you put the potato down, I'm going to go ahead and finish it. Track the screen or your paper is fine. After you put the potato down, it still has a form of kinetic energy inside it. The particles that make up the potato are always in motion. Each moving particle has a certain amount of kinetic energy. As the total kinetic energy of the particles in the potato increases, the potato gets warmer. Okay, I'm going to bring my screen back to myself so you can look up. All right, so we want to break down this reading a little bit to get a better understanding of what it means. I really like the picture of the potato because it helps me just to visualize like an object. Now, I want you to imagine inside the potato, okay, your eyes can be on the screen right now. Not an excellent scholar position. You may have heard about this idea before. There's actually these tiny, like microscopic things called particles in every object, in my timer, in my cup, and they randomly float around and they bump into each other and they bump into each other. Okay, so if the particles are moving, what kind of energy is that? This is a review to the past couple weeks. I see Jade knows and Liam knows and Fatimata knows.
Oh, sorry.
No,
kinetic energy.
True. And I also read about the word potential energy. So those are both kinds of what? Looking for another type of, well, it's the same type of energy, but another word for it.
Liam.
It is it is an example of mechanical energy.
Agrees, disagrees? Absolutely. So when something's moving, we know it has mechanical energy. So in the potato or in my timer, there's all these tiny little microscopic particles and they're moving around, they're bumping into each other, they have a little mechanical energy. If there was an example used, right? So like sometimes the potato's hot. I want you to scan back through your reading for a second. In paragraph 2, when it talks about the potato, what is happening to the potato when it's hot? Take a couple seconds to look through back over it. When you're ready to share an evidence or say it in your own words, you can raise your hand.
Marion?
So I think what's happening to the potato is like since about the kinetic energy of the particles, it's like showing like the potato is getting warmer.
Absolutely. Can someone repeat it in their own words?
Ryan.
Who did you call on, Mr. Vasquez?
Hold on, Ryan.
I forgot.
You forgot. Okay. So I'm gonna pick on Daniele.
Wait, what was the question?
Can you repeat what the last scholar said?
What did the question say?
About the potato?
Marion was telling us what was happening with the potato when it was hot. What was happening with the particles?
The particles are getting, I think they're getting more energy since it's hotter. So they get warmer. So they start moving around quicker, making energy.
Eyes are here. Fatumata, Ryan. We can't just say anymore, we can't just say energy because there's so many kinds of energy. Okay, so I know the potato is hot, I know it's thermal energy, but the particles inside it were doing something else. So I'm gonna call on, you know what, I think this would actually be a great opportunity, Fatumata, for our breakout groups. I think our screen is frozen. So we're gonna go into just breakout groups real fast to discuss what's happening with the potato when it's hot. How does that fit the definition of thermal energy so that we have a really good understanding of thermal energy when we come back? Okay, Ms. Nanhu, let's just do 2 minutes, and during that time we can discuss the reading and also come up with other examples of objects with thermal energy.
No problem. Okay, so we're gonna set for 2 minutes and all the rooms are open.
Okay.
Hey, bud.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, so would anybody like to start? I need to see everybody's face. Yep, there we are, Jason. Okay,
Hi.
Haley, everybody's listening to Haley. Go ahead, Haley.
I think
Go ahead, Haley.
I think what's going to happen to the potato is that soon the smaller parts in it are going to start melting, or they might even get burnt and hardened.
Okay, guys, we're not typing in the chat. That's strike one. Okay? I don't want to keep giving out strikes. I already addressed this. We are not typing in the chat. There's no reason for it. All right, Haley, good job. Would anybody like to build on what Haley is saying? Jason, I know you had said you wanted to answer. Yep. Okay, go ahead, Jason.
Okay, so I feel like
I don't know how it's not thermal energy because the
Brentley, put it down. That's your first strike. And let me see your face in the video. I'm serious. It's the same thing for school, guys. If we need to contact deans, deans will contact your house. So you're listening, you're paying attention.
Okay, so I don't know how it's not thermal energy because it's the potato inside is burning. So I feel like it's thermal energy and kinetic energy because the what's it called again? Like the things inside the potato.
The particles?
Yeah, the particles are moving and they're burning up.
They are moving or they aren't moving?
They are moving.
They are moving, yes. They're constantly moving. So
and they're getting burned up.
Yeah, so each moving particle has a certain amount of kinetic energy. But remember when I had taught you guys in class that there's thermal energy, and then we had like those two, I drew like those two lines to show you the difference between kinetic and potential. That's why when we're moving the baked potato from the oven, it's more kinetic energy, right?
Okay.
Is there any other questions about that? From Aloud, go ahead. You can unmute yourself. I don't know why I can't unmute. For like 3 seconds.
We are having trouble. I'm sorry, 1 second. Eyes on me. I didn't quite hear yet a response that talked about what's going on with the particles when things are getting hot. So the text tells us that their kinetic energy is increasing. What does that mean that is going on with the particles?
We had Jasleen in my group that described it. Jasleen?
When the potato is moving, then it has the energy inside of it makes up matter and can be felt as heat, and the energy inside of it is kinetic and potential energy. That is when the potato is moving and when the potato is not actually moving, but it actually could.
Okay, Akua, fold your hands, please. The particles, if they're moving and that increases, then they're going to be moving what? Faster or slower? Show me with your fingers. Like faster or slower? If they have kinetic energy and then that energy increases, 3, 2, 1, show. They're going to be moving faster. That's why it ends up getting hot, because all of the invisible things that you can't see, they start speeding up. And now the object's getting hot. Okay, track Lewis C. I've got it, Mr. Vasquez. Lewis C, yes?
It's like friction. Like when you're slow, it doesn't like make so much heat. But when you go even faster, like it has heat inside when you do friction with your hands.
That's a great connection. Does anyone else have an example to share out of objects with thermal energy? Akua?
When you charge your phone, because when the screen gets hotter while energy is going inside of the phone, so your screen gets hotter.
If you can relate with that example, agree. So, but you know what's weird though? The phone's not moving in that case. So what's happening with the phone that's making it get hot?
Potential energy.
And kinetic. What's going on? I'm gonna mute you, Akua, and go to Jade. Track Jade.
Then it gets potential energy since it's not moving even though it can. But then when it starts moving, the particles make the phone get hotter and warmer.
Does anyone want to evaluate or add on to Jade? Okay, Augustine, track Augustine. Sorry, Mr. Vasquez, I can do a couple.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
I'll let you know. Thank you. Go ahead, Augustine.
It's because if you're charging a phone and like if some energy is gonna go into the phone and like and the rest of the energy will be like useless energy and it'll turn hot and it'll basically just make the charger warm.
Right, I see what you're saying. So I want to hear it now described using the word particle. Who feels like they can describe what's going on with the phone? Like the phone's not moving, but it's getting hot. So I know like the particles inside have to be doing something.
We have Makan.
I think that they were trying. I think that like they're. I think for what I know is maybe the particles, they could be forming up, like going crashing together and trying to form up a lot of energy, because I noticed for like phones that are like ultra 20s and stuff like that, since they have like bigger LTE and stuff like that, I'm thinking that they have more particles than
Wow.
other phones.
That's a great connection. So if that were true, then I'm thinking that phone with its thermal energy, would it have more, would it have less than smaller phones?
It would have greater.
I feel like that's a great hypothesis. We could probably test it.
Greater. Yeah, it's definitely greater.
Thank you for sharing your responses. Okay, so we're actually going to see this now with a very simple demonstration. I want you to flip in your packet backwards. Okay, so we're going to go to the previous page that says lab investigation. For timing, to make this quick, I'll describe it to you. Eyes on me. In my hand, I have a little tiny jar. It's Donovan's baby food jar. And inside is all filled with, not sand, sugar. Okay, everyone's favorite thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this thermometer. I'm gonna take the temperature of the sugar. Then I'm gonna see what happens if I shake the sand. Okay, if I shake it, I'm moving it. What kind of energy am I doing if it's moving? I'm gonna be doing mechanical energy. So if I increase the mechanical energy, then I'm gonna take the temperature and see if anything happened. Okay, look down at your page. There's a data table that we're gonna fill out with the starting temperature. Okay, so I actually already took the temperature right before we logged in, and the starting temperature was 72.4. We can write down, pencils up, and write it down. Start 72.4. Okay, and pencils back down. Okay, before I show you what happens, and we do this, we want to make a hypothesis. What do you think will happen to the temperature of the sugar after it is shaken? I want to do a little turn and talk, guys. We're going to do something where we unmute two people and they can share their ideas by agreeing, disagreeing, and adding on. Okay, so Mr. Vasquez, who should we hear from?
Jacob, and we'll put Nana.
I think that it's gonna get hotter because as we were talking about how when the kinetic energy moves faster with the potato, it got like warmer. So I think this will happen with the sugar or sand.
I agree with you because when the particles move faster, the sand gets hotter.
All right, thank you guys for sharing your hypotheses. So I'm gonna set my timer. Oh, it's really loud. 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds, I'm gonna shake it. Now, while I'm shaking it, people who have been very attentive are gonna have the opportunity to share out something that they have enjoyed doing over the weekend, okay? Mr. Vasquez will call on you and I'm gonna be shaking it. Ready, set, go. Mr. Vasquez, do you wanna call on someone?
Zamira? Hold on, let me unmute her. Hold on. There you go. Zamira?
one thing I like doing is just staying home and being able to play with my device. And I have
What device, Zamira? Now I'm just gonna take the temperature.
I like playing with my iPad or I like playing with my PS4. But I don't have good internet, so.
Who else has an iPad? Raise your hand. Cool. All right, so according to my thermometer, the temperature now is 72.8. Jot that down next to, jot that down next to where it says 30 seconds, 72.8. Okay, now I'm gonna do it for 45. Does anyone wanna make a guess what the temperature will be?
We have Haley.
I think the guess of the temperature, I think it's going to be 72 or 73.10.
Ooh. Okay, so I've still got 30 more seconds. Would anyone else like to share out what they've done this weekend?
Go with Jerry O.
I was bored, but my brother was bothering me much, so I don't want to be that harsh, so I only hit him once with something. I didn't hit him with my hand.
Jariel, next time we're not going to share something like that out, please. I said something fun you did this weekend. Oh, can I just take a side note to say my temperature has definitely increased with all this shaking. All right, next to 45 seconds, pencils up, write down 73.5. Haley, you were on the right track there. Okay. Oh, hot here? Okay, so my last one is for a minute. We're gonna try and call on 2 people. Here we go.
We have Kari.
It was my birthday on last Saturday, and I got to have fun at my dad's job.
That is super fun. Happy birthday.
Birthday.
Okay, we got 30 more seconds.
We have a cool.
So all I did was stay in bed, sleep, use my iPad, and watch Netflix, and then just do TikTok. That's it.
What did you watch on Netflix?
Mostly like Richie Rich. I don't know. Just watch Netflix.
I watched Frozen 2 this weekend for the
Oh, I
first
did
time.
too.
Whew, okay. Taking the temperature for the very last time. Any guesses while it's still reading it off?
We have Jariel.
I think the temperature might be around like 74 or 75.
Yep, 74.6. Pencils up in our last box. Ooh, 74.6. Okay, pencils back down. Eyes on the screen. So now we're gonna act like scientists a little bit. We have some data in front of us that we need to analyze. What is going on with the numbers, right? And then what does that tell us about mechanical energy and thermal energy? We're gonna go into breakout groups for 2 minutes. And we're gonna discuss what's happening with the numbers. What does that tell you about mechanical energy's impact on thermal energy?
Okay, so we're going to breakout rooms for 2 minutes and go ahead.
Macan.
Ew.
Hello. Okay, guys, stop chatting. Because there's another thing that I can do on here, and I can save the chat and I'll end up sending it home. So we need to stop chatting. Okay. So Haley, I see you had your hand up. Go ahead.
So, what I think is happening to the lenders is that they are increasing, and what I think that happens when mechanical energy and thermal energy, what I think happens is that soon when they're put together, the numbers will increase to become larger.
Agree or disagree? What do we think with Haley's response? Okay, Issa, go ahead.
I think like what I want to say is that like when you move it something around, it becomes like hotter.
Say that again.
Like when you move something around a lot, it becomes hotter.
It becomes hotter. Is that what you've noticed? What happened to the temperature? Macan, go ahead.
It increased.
The temperature
Instead of
increased.
decreasing, it increased.
It increased, yes. Okay,
Because of the particles.
Because of what?
The particles.
Because of the particles. Okay, for Mal, go ahead.
Bless you.
Thank you. I don't know, for Mal, I can't unmute you. Can you unmute yourself? Oh, can you talk now? It says you're not muted. Are you saying anything? Say hello. No, I'm not hearing you. It has to be something with your headset. No, it has to be something with the headset. No? Oh yeah, I can hear you now without it, yeah.
So the more the item, the object gets
about to go back.
Ticket Damien, fake ticket, virtual ticket. Great job. Okay. So altogether, to repeat Damien's, as the mechanical energy increased, the thermal energy did what? The thermal energy also increased. Pencils up. Where it says conclusion at the bottom of our page, it's going to be a lightning fast jot. You have 30 seconds. That's it. Pencils up, 30 seconds. What conclusion can we say about mechanical energy and temperature? Damien just told us. Okay, pencils up, write down. Go, 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 go. Nice urgency, Akua, Rachel, Edgar, Melanie. Ten more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Okay. Tracking Rachel. One last time. What's our conclusion?
Our conclusion is that mechanical energy has the effect that mechanical energy has on temperature is that it increases temperature.
Beautiful job. All right, everyone.
You muted yourself.
Great job, Rachel. That was correct. Now we're ready to move on to the IP. So flip your page back over to the IP. We have, let's do questions 1 through 4, and we'll take the next 3 minutes. 1, 2, 3, okay. Pencils up, 3 minutes, begin.
Ms. McLean, did you want this done in the breakout rooms or no? Okay,
No.
just now. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
we're gonna wrap it up a little bit early. Stop. Hands up for number 1. Clap for A, B, C, D. Answer is B. Number 2. Hands up. Clap for A, B, C, D. Answer is B. With the multiple choice so far, show me on your fingers how many you got correct. Our clapping is not all at the same time over the internet, so I want to see 0, 1s, 2s, mostly 2s. Great job. Hands down. Okay. To wrap up, we need to have an understanding of thermal energy. In your own words, what is thermal energy? I'm going to take 2 people to build on each other.
All right, sweet. Rodrigo.
Thermal energy is energy due to random moving particles that make up matter and can be felt as heat.
And second person would be, we'll go with Haley.
In my own words, I think that thermal energy is energy that randomly moves. An example of thermal energy would be the wind. You don't know when it's gonna move; it just randomly moves and causes to be cold.
Okay. I like how you rephrased in your own words and gave an example. Okay, so tomorrow for science, we'll brush up on this to make sure we've got it down. That's going to do it for science today. Now we're going to be moving into read aloud. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Ms. Diaz.
Okay, so for read aloud, we know that you don't have the books, and that's completely okay. Now, if you would like, you can watch on the website. There should be a link to Bud Not Buddy. So if you have that, great. If you don't, it's okay. We're not going to spend a lot of time looking for it right now because I'm going to share my screen and I have a copy of the book. So you can look at the screen as I read aloud. So we're first going to start off with explaining what we're going to be focusing on today in read aloud. So we are going to be focusing on setting. Now, first and foremost, what is setting?
Setting is where the place.
Say that again.
Setting is where the story takes place.
So yeah, great. Setting is where the story takes place, but there's an extra component that Sheh is missing. Can someone add on?
Let's hear from Milani.
Setting is like when and where the character or plot takes place.
Yeah, where and when. So not only the physical location, but the time at which it's happening, it's all included in setting. Now, setting, especially when we're reading a historical fiction book, is going to be really important in terms of the plot and kind of guides how the events happen within the story. So as we read Bud Not Buddy today, we're going to be reading chapter 8 and talking about 1, what is the setting? And 2, how does it affect the events in the story? And if the setting were different, how would the story be different? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Like I said, I have a copy of the book, so if you don't have it in front of you, that's fine. Your eyes should be on the screen. Just one moment. First, there we go. So we're on chapter 8, page 60 if you have the PDF file in front of you. If you don't, your eyes are on the screen and you're sitting still. So Sheh, hands, please. Thank you. Something stepped on a little stick. As soon as a twig cracked, my eyes snapped open and was wide awake. I held my breath and kept as still as I could. Whatever it was sneaking up on me knew I'd woke up because it stopped moving and kept as still as it could, too. Even though my head was still under my blanket, I could feel 2 eyes staring at me real hard. And I knew these weren't critter eyes. These eyes made the hair on the back of my neck raise up, the way only human being eyes can do. Without wriggling or jiggling around too much under my blanket, I got my fingers wrapped around my jackknife. Right when I was ready to push the covers off of me and start running and stabbing, whoever it was that had been watching jumped right on top of me. I was trapped as a roach under a dish rag. I tried to guess the exact spot that person's heart was at, then pulled my knife back. A voice said, "If you ain't a kid called Bud from the home, I'm really sorry about jumping on you like this." It was Bugs. When I tried to talk, it felt like I had to suck all the air out of Flip. I finally got breathing right and said, "Doggone it, Bugs, it is me. You nearly scared me to death." He got off of me and I threw the blanket over to the other side. "You don't know how lucky you are. I was just about fixing to stab you in the heart." Bugs looked like he knew that it had just been a real close call. He said, "I'm sorry, Bud. I didn't mean to scare you. But everyone knows how you like to sleep with that knife open, so I figured I'd best grab hold of you so you wouldn't wake up slicing nobody." Shucks. Even though it was Bugs who'd come real close to getting his heart poked, I was the only one who was still having trouble catching my breath. I asked, "How come you aren't back at the home?" Before he had the chance to answer, I knew. "You're on the lam." Bugs said, "Yep, I'm going back riding the rails. When I heard about you beating that kid up so bad that you had to take off, I figured it was time for me to get going too. I thought you might be hanging around the library, so I come down to see if you wanted to go with me." "Where are you heading?" "There's always fruits to be picked out west. I heard we can make enough money to get by out there. There's supposed to be a train leaving sometime tomorrow." "Did you really beat that kid up in the foster home?" I said, "Uh-huh. We kind of had a fight. How long is it till you get out west?" Bugs said, "Depends how many trains you gotta hop." "Was he really 2 years older than you?" "Uh-huh. He was 12. Is it fun to hop a train?" "Some of the time it is. Some of the time it's scary. We heard he was kind of big too. Was he?" I said, "He was pretty big. I can't see how we could hop on a train. They look like they're moving pretty doggone fast." Bugs said, "Most times you don't hop when they're going fast. Most times you try to climb on the one when it's sitting in the train yard. Did the guy cry after you whipped him?" "Well, kind of. He looked real scared, then told his mama to keep me away from him. They even said I was a hoodlum." "Will we be sleeping on the train and everything?" "Sure we will. Some of the time the train don't stop for 2 or 3 days. Man, I always try to tell people that just because someone's skinny in it don't mean they can't fight." "You're a hero now, Bud." "No, I didn't really do nothing much." "Well, how about the toilet? Where are we going to use a toilet if the train doesn't stop?" Bugs said, "You just kind of lean out of the door and go. When the train is still moving? Yeah, you get a real nice breeze." "Oh man, that sounds great. Count me in. I can't wait." Bugs spit a big glob of slob in his hand and said, "I knew I could depend on you, Bud." I spit a big glob in my hand and said, "We're brothers forever, Bugs." We slapped our hands together as hard as we could and got our slobs mixed up real good. Then waved them in the air so they'd dry. Now it was official. I finally had a brother. Bugs said, "We'll go down to the mission. There's bound to be someone there that knows all about where we can hop this train. Then we'll be on the lam together." Okay, so I need everyone's eyes back on me. Now, we're going to go ahead and break up into breakout rooms at this time. And in your breakout room, you're going to be discussing with your group, where is this story set right now in this chapter? And you have to justify your answer with a piece of evidence. So that's what we're going to discuss for 3 minutes in the breakout room.
Okay. Okay, we're heading out into the breakout rooms right now. Oh, sorry.
Turtles.
Hey, so stop texting on the chat.
You're gonna get in trouble and then you have to
Okay, Isa, that's your second strike.
Hi, everybody.
So,
Hi, Miss Little.
hello. Okay, so we only have 3 minutes. So, where is the setting in this story?
Train station.
I think it's somewhere near the train station.
It's in a train station, Haley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I disagree with you, because I think that the setting is the library, because they're planning to go to the they're planning to go to the
They're planning to go where? Haley? Okay.
they're planning to go to the train station,
Oh,
but
okay.
they're at the library.
Okay, Jace, what do you think?
I know that they're at the library because this when books came along.
Wait. Jace, 1 second. Somebody's making noise, and I can't
Muted themselves.
hear. Okay, so Haley and Samo, you guys gotta stay muted.
And Macan.
Yeah, me too. Please, can you mute me?
Where is yours? Oh, right here. Okay, go ahead, Jace.
So I think they're at the library because when Bugs was looking for Bud, it said that he would figure that Bud was at the library, so he checked there.
Say that again?
I know that the setting's at the library because when Bugs was looking for Bud, he figured that he was at the library, so he went to check there.
So the setting is at the library?
Yeah.
That's what you think? And then Haley, you had said it was at the train, right? Well,
that was Macan.
Oh, that was Macan. Haley, what did you say?
I said that it was at the library that they were planning to go to the train station.
Okay, good. Yes. So, Macan, do you understand they were planning to go to the train station?
Yes, I got it right.
Okay, we're about to go into the.
Yeah. But I did. But I wasn't the one who. I wasn't the one who said we were going to the train station. I said that they were planning to go to the train station.
Oh, okay, yes. They were planning to go to the train station. And how do we know that they were planning to go to the train station? What
Because they were talking about they were asking so many questions about the train station, like what could go on, what might happen, or how they're supposed to use bathrooms.
Yusuf, strike. Yes, Macan, that's exactly what it is. And
I'm going back to my main session. I'm going to my main room.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to the main session.
Yeah, my mom was asking me.
All right.
So let's wait 10 more seconds. And would you like me to call on 1 or 2 people?
2 people to share what they discussed in their breakout rooms.
Sounds great. So I know in our room, Rodrigo had an interesting response, and I also know I want to hear from Haley. So let me find them. Rodrigo is unmuted, and Haley, I'm gonna unmute you at the same time. You're both unmuted. Go ahead.
I think they're at the library because Bud fell asleep in the bushes and then Bugs came and jumped on him.
Yeah, great. So that was definitely the physical setting and location of where they are. Now, I know, Augustine, we had talked in our group about setting in terms of the time frame. Can you share what you have with that?
Augustine, you're unmuted.
That like when if the setting wasn't in the Great Depression, then the character traits and feelings of Bud would be different, and the problem Bud will be facing
will be all different.
Yeah. So definitely. So when we know that he's outside the library, they're both deciding whether or not to go on the lam, and that this is still during the Great Depression. Now, prior to reading about or reading Bud Not Buddy, you had discussed and read a little bit about the historical context surrounding the Great Depression. And so I want you to keep what we had read in that fiction text before we begin the book in mind as we read the rest of the chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Your eyes should be on the screen, listening and reading along as I read aloud. Okay, let me just, we found out that we'd have to go to a city called Hooperville, just outside of Flint. The only trouble was, nobody knew exactly where Hooperville was. It was dark before we found out the right direction. I'd never heard of a city that was so doggone hard to find. We walked on a trail through some woods that run right up against Thread Creek. We could tell we were getting close to Hooperville because we heard somebody playing a mouth organ and the smell of food cooking was getting stronger. We kept walking in the direction that the sky was glowing with an orangish light. When we could hear the music real clear and the folks talking to each other and the sound of sticks crackling in a fire, we started cutting through the trees. That way we could peek into Hooperville first. We looked out from behind the big tree and saw that a big wind, or even 2 or 3 big wolves, were huffing and puffing real hard to blow down Hooperville into the next county. It was a bunch of huts and shacks thrown together about pieces of boxes and wood and cloth. The Amoses shed should have looked like a real fancy house out here. Right near our tree was the big fire that had been lighting up the sky. It looked like 100 people were sitting around it, watching things burn or waiting for the food cooking in the 3 big pots set up in the fire. There were 2 littler fires burning in Hooperville. One had a pot that was big enough to boil a whole person in it. A man was stirring things in the pot with a big stick, and when he raised the stick up, he'd pull some birches out of his shirt and pass it over to a white man who was hanging the clothes on a line to dry. There was a mountain of clothes on the ground next to him waiting on their turn. The other fire in Hooperville was real small. It was off to the side by itself. There were 5 white people sitting at this fire, 2 kids, a man, and a woman, holding a little wrapped baby. The baby sounded like all those new sick babies at the home. It was coughing like it was a half-dead little animal. Bugs whispered, "Shoot, this ain't no city. This is just another cardboard jungle." "A what?" "A cardboard jungle, somewhere you can get off the train and clean up and get something to eat without the cops chasing you out of town." I said, "Well, what are we going to do? We can't just go busting into the city and expect someone to feed us, can we?" Bugs said, "One of us has got to talk to them. Let's flip for it." Okay. Bugs bumbled around in the pocket and found a penny. He rubbed it up against his breeches and said, "Heads I win, tails you lose." Okay. He flipped the penny up into the air and caught it, then slapped it down on the back of his left hand. He peeked underneath his right hand to see a big smile cracked on his face. "Shucks," Bugs said, "tails, you lose." "Dang, so what should I say?" Asked him if this is Hooperville. See if they got any extra food. I moved out from behind our tree and walked over toward the biggest fire. I waited until some folks noticed me and then said, "Excuse me, is this here Hooperville?" The man who was playing the mouth organ stopped, and everyone else around the fire looked up at me. One of the white men said, what is it you're looking for?" I said, "A city called Hooperville, sir." They all laughed. The mouth organ man said, "Nah, son, what you're looking for is a Hooverville with a V, like in President Herbert Hoover." So show me on your hands, agree, disagree, you know who Herbert Hoover is. I should see lots of agrees because you should have talked about it in your previous read aloud. Okay, eyes back on the screen. I said, "Oh, is this it, sir?" The man said, "This is one of them." I said, "One of them?" He answered, "They're all over the country. This here is the Flint version, and all of them are called Hooverville?" "That's right. Mr. Hoover worked so hard at making sure every city has got one that it seems like it would be criminal to call them anything else." Someone said, "That's the truth." I said, well, how are we going to know if we're in the right one? The mouth organ man said, are you hungry? Yes, sir. Are you tired? Yes, sir. Are you scared about what's going to happen tomorrow? I didn't want anyone to think I was a baby, so I said, not exactly scared, sir. Maybe I'm a little bit nervous. The man smiled and said, well, son, any place where there are other folks in need of the same thing, that you are in the right place to be. This is exactly the Hooverville you're looking for. I knew what the man was trying to say. This was the same exact kind of circle talking and cross talking that Mama used to do. Bugs hadn't had that kind of practice. He came from behind me, behind the tree, and said, I don't get it. You said there were Hoovervilles all over the place. What if we was looking for the Hoovervilles in Detroit or Chicago? How could this be the right one to be in? The man said, you boys from Flint? I said, yes, sir. The man waved his mouth organ like a magic wand and pointed it all over the little cardboard city. Boys, he said, look around you. The city was bigger than I thought it was. The raggedy little huts were in every direction you looked. And there were more people sitting around than I first thought, too. Mostly it was men and big boys, but there were a couple of women every now and then and a kid or two. There were all the colors you could think of, black, white, and brown, but the fire made everyone look like they were different shades of orange. There were dark orange folks sitting next to medium orange folks, sitting next to light orange folks. All these people, the mouth organ man said, are just like you. They're tired, hungry, and a little bit nervous about tomorrow. This here's the right place for y'all to be, because we're in the same boat, and you boys are nearer at home than you'll ever get. Someone said, amen, brother. The mouth organ man said, it don't matter if you're looking for Chicago or Detroit or Orlando or Oklahoma City. I rode the rails to all of them. You might think or you might hear that things are better just down the line, but they're singing the same sad song all over this country. Believe me, son, being on the road is no good. If you two boys are from Flint, this is the right Hooverville for you. So I'm going to actually pause there, and I want us to discuss what do we know about Hoovervilles based off of your last lesson in Read Aloud.
Let's start with trying to pick people we haven't heard from today. Let's hear from Ari. I'm not able to unmute him right now. What, Ms. Manhu?
He's also connected like through a cell phone. So,
oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's hear from Justin. Justin, what do we know about Hoovervilles?
What we know about Hoovervilles is that Hooverville is like where all the poor people live, because in the Great Depression nobody has like really any money. So right now they just like by the fire, I guess, trying to warm up and like get some food to eat. And they're all the same around the whole country.
Excellent. Now, I want us to consider what Justin told us about what he knows about Hoovervilles from our reading of the nonfiction text, and how is that affecting the events in the story as we read about Bud and Bugs and what they're doing right now.
Jariel?
I noticed that Bud and Bugs, they're wandering around Flint, and they're trying to see if they could find the right Hooverville city, but then they run into people because the Hoovervilles are all around the country because they have no money to pay rent for their houses. So they're trying to find out if they could find the right Hooverville city. But the problem is they get kind of lost because they don't know which one they're at.
Right, so we have this idea from our nonfiction reading that Hoovervilles were these groups or these places where all these people who couldn't afford to pay for their houses and who were struggling during the Depression stood. And here we have Bugs and Bud who are kind of navigating through one of these Hoovervilles. And as we continue to read, I want you to continue to think, how does the time frame in which the story happens and the physical location affect how the characters act toward one another? So eyes are back on the screen again. We're going to continue reading. Someone said, "Brother, why don't we feed these boys? That one looks like he ain't eaten 2 or 3 months." Shucks, he didn't have to point it out or nothing. Everyone knew who he meant. But I didn't care. The food was bubbling up in those 3 big pots, even sounded delicious. The mouth organ man said, "You're welcome to join us, but we will all pitch in here, so unless either one of you is carrying one of them smoked West Virginia hams in them bags, it looks like you'll be pulling KP tonight." I said, "Pulling what, sir?" He said, "KP, Kitchen Police. You do the cleanup after everyone's had their fill. There are a couple of other young folks who'll show you what you have to do." Me and Bugs both said, "Yes, sir." It seemed like a real good trade. A woman handed me and Bugs each a flat, square, empty tin can. That Lord's in your china. Please be careful not to chip it. My china had the words Jumbo A&P Sardines stamped into the bottom of it. She handed us 2 beat-up old spoons and said, "Don't be shy. You two about missed supper. You best hurry up." She took us over to one of the big pots and filled up our tiny plates. "You're lucky," she said. "It's muskrat stew, and there's plenty left over tonight. Eat as much as you can." The stew is made out of dandelion greens and a couple of potatoes and some small wild carrots and some crawdads and a couple of chunks of meat. It tasted great. We even both got seconds. When we were done, the woman told us, "You boys leave your bags here. It's time to do the dishes now." "Oh, ma'am, I'd like to keep my suitcase with me wherever I go." "I promise you your suitcase will be safe here." I remember the Amoses promised me the same thing. I said, "You'll watch it yourself, ma'am? You'll make sure that no one looks inside of it?" She said, "Son, we don't have no thieving here. We all just look out for each other." I said, "Thank you, ma'am," and put my suitcase down near the woman's feet. Me, Bugs, and a little white boy and a little girl loaded off a whole mess of dirty tin cans and spoons and a couple of real plates and forks into a big wooden box and lugged them down to Thread Creek. The little girl had been in Hooverville the longest, so she got to tell the rest of us what to do. She said, "I don't suppose neither one of you boys knows how to do the dishes right away, do you?" Me and Bugs have done tons of dishes in the home, so I said, "Sure we do. We used to do real good at cleaning up." Bugs said, "Dang, girl, you act like this is the first cardboard jungle I've been in. I know how you do dishes out here." She said, "Okay then, we'll split them up. You and you," she pointed at Bugs and the other kid, "can do half, and me and this boy can do the others. What's your name?" I said, "Bud, not Buddy." She said, "I'm Deza Malone." Deza handed Bugs, the other little boy, some rags and some soap water, and they started splashing the dishes in the water. Me and the little girl walked farther up the creek and started unloading the rest of the dishes. "You'll dry, I'll wash," she said. She handed me a rag, and just as soon as she'd splashed one of the tin cans in the water to give it to me to dry, I dry it and stick it in the wooden box. She said, "Where you say you was from?" "Flint, right here. So you and your friend come down here to get on a train tomorrow?" "Where's it going?" "Chicago," she said. "Is that west from here?" "Mm-hmm." "Then yep, that's where we're heading," I said. "Where are you from?" "Lancaster, Pennsylvania." "You gonna take the train too?" She said, My daddy is. Folks say there's work out west, so he's gonna try again." "So you're going to wait here for him?" "Mm-hmm." She was real fast at washing dishes, but I noticed she got kind of slow and was touching my hands a lot when it came to giving them to me. She said, "Where's your mom and daddy?" "My mother died 4 years ago." "Sorry to hear that." "It's okay. She didn't suffer nothing." "So where's your daddy?" "I think he lives in Grand Rapids. I never met him." "Sorry to hear that." Shucks, she held right on to my hand when she said that. I squirmed my hand loose and said, "That's okay too." Deza said, "No, it's not. You shouldn't quit pretending that it is." "Who said I'm pretending anything? I know you are. My daddy says that families are the most important thing there is. That's why me and my mama are going to wait together for him to come back, or wait for us to come to him." I said, "My mother said the same thing, that families should be there for each other all the time. She's always used to tell me that no matter where I went or what I did, she would be there for me. Even if there wasn't somewhere where I could see her, she told me." Shucks, there were some folks who have you run your mouth before you know what you're doing. I quit talking and I acted like I was having a real hard time drying the tin that she just handed to me. "What'd she tell you, Bud?" I looked at Deza Malone and I figured I'd never see her in my life again, so I kept shooting off my mouth. She would tell me every night before I went to sleep that no matter what happened, I could sleep knowing there had never been a little boy, anywhere, anytime, who was loved more than she loved me. She told me that as long as I remembered that, I'd be okay. And you just knew it was the truth? Just as much as I know my name's Bud and not Buddy. She said, "Don't you have any other kin here in Flint?" No. Guess I can't blame you for wanting to ride the rails. My mama says these poor kids on the road all alone, just like dust in the wind. But I guess you're different, aren't you, Bud? I guess you sort of carry your family around inside of you, huh? I guess I do. Inside my suitcase, too. So, you've been staying in orphanages since your mama died? What makes you say that? Well, you're kind of skinny, but I can tell by the way you talk and the way you act, you haven't been out on the road for very long. You still look young. I said, shucks, I'm not all that young. I'm going to be 11 in November 14th, and I'm not skinny. I'm wiry. Some folks think I'm a hero. So I want us to pause there, and I want us to consider that Bugs and Bud, what happened to them when they came into the Hooverville? How did the people in the Hooverville treat them?
I hear from Adriel. Give me 1 second to unmute him. Sorry, the controls are being a little sensitive. Who else would like to share out? You can raise your hand. All right, Edgar.
So what happened when Bud got to Hooverville was that they had to do some chores basically. And so Bud met this little girl. I forgot her name. What was her name again?
Well, I want to pause there. You said they had to do some chores. Why?
Well, they had to do some chores because wait, can you go back in the text since I don't have the text?
Who can help them out? Who remembers what was the reason that they were doing chores in the first place?
Issa.
I think they.
Oh, wait, he got muted again. Go ahead, Issa.
Issa, are you trying to unmute yourself? I'm not sure what happens. I can't unmute him anymore. Issa, try unmuting yourself.
I think they did that for cause they were staying there cause it was a Hooverville's place and they had to stay there cause they didn't have money to pay the rent or anything, so they had to work hard, not really hard, but had to do some chores to earn some money to the real world.
So they weren't earning money, they were actually earning food. So in trade for food, they were asked to do chores. Now, based off of what you know about the setting of the story and the context of Hoovervilles, I'm gonna go and ask, actually, let's see, do we have time? 1 sec. Yeah, I guess we have time for one more break room. We're gonna go into break rooms for 3 minutes and discuss, again, how does the setting affect how the characters treat each other in the story? So we know that the Hooverville people welcomed him with open arms, talk about setting and how it affects how the characters interact with one another. Miss Anhu?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was unmuted. I already put it out.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Somebody talk in the chat.
Okay, guys. Let's bring it back. Everybody mute themselves in 10, 9, 8,
I have a
7,
question.
6, 5, 4,
Where's the blessing?
3, 2, 1. And Samuel, you're still not muted. Okay, I just muted you. It's fine. Issa, you need to be muted. Ari, you're fine. Okay, Jason, I'm coming back to you. Jason, unmute yourself. Okay,
I have a question after this. What's gonna happen after this when we don't read aloud?
You guys have a break, and then you come back for number stories and then writing with Mr. Vasquez for number stories and then writing with me.
That's it?
And then that's it. That's our day.
Okay.
Okay.
And
So
how long is the breakout room?
answer this question.
How long is the break?
The break is from 1:55 to 2:25.
25?
1:55 to 2:25.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So Haley, I see your hand. Jason, mute yourself back. Haley, unmute yourself and you can talk.
So I think that they were like doing a lot of work so that they could earn food because they haven't eaten in a pretty long time, and they're trying to get all stuffed up so they can go on the train, and they're not hungry.
They're not hungry. But what else? Let's see. Haley, mute yourself. Makan, go ahead. Makan, you gotta unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I would like to add on, Haley, is I agree with you, number one, and also that when they went to Hoverville, they were treated like family because the man that was talking, he treated them nicely. He was talking to them not in a rude manner. Like, he wasn't saying, "Get out, you're not supposed to be here." He was being nice, and he was actually letting Bud and Bug stay, even though they were like kind of outsiders who just came.
Okay. Anybody else before we close out?
I'm gonna mute myself.
Yes, thank you. Issa's your hand up? I'm not sure. No. Brenly, can you please bring your focus back to the computer?
Did you see Brenly's background?
Yes, Brenly, you need to remove your background because it's going to be distracting to everybody else.
We can only have the background if we earn.
I like that, Jace. That's actually very that's like an incentive we can use for online. Okay, Ari, let me see. Go ahead, Ari.
So, why are we ending the break room so soon?
Because it was only for 3 minutes, and because Read Aloud is about to be done.
Wow.
My thing was muted.
Okay, next time, make sure that your thing is up. I'm gonna mute you.
I'm not.
Okay, so it seems that we're all here. So we have about 3 minutes left. We're not going to get through the entire chapter, which means we'll have to cover some tomorrow. However, I want someone to summarize, how does setting affect the events in a story? And how has the setting in this chapter affected the events in the story? Daniele.
The setting affects the characters because if the setting wasn't in the Great Depression, then Bud and Bugs wouldn't have a reason why to go to Hooville and to try to get out, because they'd have enough, they could earn money to support their own life. But since they're living in the Great Depression, they have to try and get food and stuff to survive.
Great. Can we have someone else add on to what Daniele had mentioned about how the setting had affected both the events and the characters in this chapter? Damien.
I think the setting impacted the story because if it wasn't during the Great Depression, then it would honestly make no sense. Because if you were just, yeah, it makes sense that he was in an orphanage, but because he didn't have parents, but there's like grown adults that are living inside of Hoovervilles.
Okay, eyes are back on me and on the screen. So great. So we can clearly see, based off this chapter alone, that authors often really think thoroughly about where they're setting their story, both in time and in place, because it sort of drives the events within a story and can affect how the characters interact with one another. So we're about to release you into, I believe, your second break. besides lunch, and you can expect that your teachers are going to be checking with you if they're your advisory teachers. Typically today we're not going to talk about reading, but starting tomorrow we're going to be checking in, asking you a couple of questions on what you've been reading. We have the same text you do, so we're going to be checking in about those. Yes, Ms. Linehan?
Just to clarify for scholars and for all the teachers, the books that, or the texts that scholars are supposed to be reading have been marked Monday and then Tuesday and then Wednesday for this week, so they know exactly what they should be reading and they can access it through our website.
Great. So then we'll start checking in with you tomorrow about that. Again, we have the text, so we're going to be asking you a very specific question, and you can almost count of it as a sort of grade. We're going to be recording your answers and things. So your advisory teachers are going to reach out to you within this time slot. We should be back at, let's see, 2:25. So back here, 2:25, and we're going to have number stories then. Okay, so I'll see you all then.